Let's check it out. So this is the event. Sis, give me strength. In front of the mirror dresser sat Hinoe's zodiac dagger. I gripped it in terror, closed my eyes, and started shaking. Do whatever you can to bring the Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. Just remember, the book is born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. I couldn't back down now. I lifted the dagger in front of me, poised it to plunge it into my body, and carved myself open as a samurai once did in the ritualistic suicide called seppuku. But I couldn't go through with it. I was too scared of death, too scared of the pain. I can't. The face that reflected back at me in the mirror was twisted with fear. I couldn't even recognize myself. But I could see those eyes, all the weight that had been put on my shoulders, all the responsibility I had been forced to bear. I'm a coward. I'm a small and weak. The world doesn't need me. I won't be missed. But I can't make a difference here and now. Ah! My mind was made up. I lifted the dagger again, only to bring it halfway to its destination before halting its descent once more. No matter how determined I was, no matter how strong my conviction, this was literally suicide. I knew what had to be done, but knowing and accepting are two different things. I began crying like a baby. This is the most afraid I've ever been in my entire life, and almost certainly the most afraid I will ever be. At this point, the only way I'd been able to go through with it was to clear my mind and let my arms make the motions automatically. But before I knew it, that was exactly what I did. It's most likely because I wasn't thinking about it, or anything else for that matter. The dagger found absolutely no resistance. It was like applying excess force to a slice of cake. For the very brief moment, I felt nothing. But then the convulsions started, first in my abdomen and then quickly spreading up to the rest of my body. My abdomen was now spasming and constricting involuntarily. And the rest of me wasn't faring much better. My entire body was in total chaos. The extent of the agony I'd felt at that moment was absolutely impossible to convey. It's all the encompassing. I was literally incapable of focusing on anything else. My lower body was bawling bright red, thick black blood, and an unknown yellow substance, all of which were bleeding together into a slurry that was, at its core, my life essence. This went far beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The sheer shock of it rendered my mind a jumble that I simply could not untangle. I knew there was a reason I'd done this for myself. Something I absolutely had to do, and it was crucial. But regaining enough cognitive function to do it would be a challenge. I can't do this. To cut across again? To remove the book? There's no way. My head was swimming as I tried, beyond all reasonable measure, to hang on to consciousness just long enough to complete the task at hand. I could still see my face in the mirror, but only just, as the blood that began to spurt from my abdomen had largely glazed it over. It was truly a frightful sight, comparable to, if not more disturbing than anything I'd seen in Heavenly Host. I can't do it. I felt feeble, helpless, and the face of the mirror was smiling at me for it, darkly and obscenely. You can't do it. Jet black crows flew by my outside the window, and in that moment, a fire sparked within me, flowing oddly resolute. I gripped the dagger jutting out of my abdomen. Alright, so she cut herself again, and yanked it to the side with every last strength I had in me. The spray of blood gushing out from me almost became exponentially more violent. More surprisingly, it seemed more equal amounts of blood were rushing to my brains as well, and the effects was feeling like the blood vessels in my head were on the verge of bursting. But just as it felt like the moments in my final blackout, I saw something. There, among my own entrails on the ground, was a blood-drenched tome. It was the Book of Shadows, without question. My vision blurred, and the intense loss of blood, even more intense pain, I fell over, unable to maintain any semblance of balance any longer. And I landed right on it, with a loud, warm, unpleasant splash. My face planted firmly into the book, which was seemingly under the odd temperature differentials of my viscera. I awoke, with a start. I was still in Honoe's room. Instinctively and frantically, I looked down at my abdomen. There, I saw a scar resembling the ones I'd almost died from during the blowbacks at Yoshi's Shinozaki's house. Runic lettering and all, but that was it. The bleeding had stopped. In fact, there was no blood anywhere in the room. And on the floor in front of me sat the Book of Shadows. Not a copy, but the original. I slowly touched it, and from behind me, Sachiko spoke. The book has acknowledged you as its owner. She was staring at me with docile, almost reverent look in her eyes. I picked up the book and looked at it, fear and awe running through my now clear mind. It grumbled a bit, darting its eye back and forth. Eventually, it seemed to settle on a specific direction, locking its gaze. It seemed to be looking out the window. What is that? Most likely the entrance to Nirvana. Wait, Kisaragi Academy is in that direction. Alright, looks like something happened to our old school. So that must be my parents. Yep, Dad, Mom! Thank goodness, I was worried sick about... The world has ended. The world has ended. Dad? Mom? So I can move now, which is pretty odd. Alright, head out of the living room and head to the front door. Okay, so we're gonna leave this room. Bye, Dad. Bye, Mom. Have a safe trip. And then we're gonna walk out towards the door. I'll be back for you, I swear. Alright. And then we're going to probably make it to the school, I assume. What's this? Alright, so I'm gonna shut up and we're gonna check this out. Alright, so welcome back. That was a cool little video for like all of the things that have happened thus far. And we're gonna continue back attempting to get to the school, I presume. So Sachiko, I can't believe I'm saying this, but having you by my side is kind of reassuring. Sachiko looked at me with sweet innocent eyes. Alright, here we go. So this is Kisaragi Academy. When I arrived at Kisaragi Academy, I got a much better look at the phenomenon. It was like a whirlpool with a red, dully like shining hole in its center. Was this the entrance to the ever after? Beyond this is the nirvana. Kinetic magic? Like how witches fly? No way! I closed my eyes, clasped the Book of Shadows tightly in between my hands, and prayed. Book of Shadows, lend me strength. When I opened my eyes again and looked up into the sky, my body began to float. I was in control of the Book of Shadows. I was a legitimate practitioner of magic now. The moments felt almost like an awakening to endless new possibilities. Wow, I'm actually flying? And right next to me, flying by my side, was Sachiko. Ayumi? Huh? The momentary loss of focus dropped me from my trance and I immediately began falling. I gripped the book even tighter and concentrated harder than before, and sure enough, I began rising up towards the vortex once more. Be careful, Ayumi. It's the book that's allowing you to use these powers. You mustn't let go of it. Understood. Wow, the school is completely gone. As I flew higher, I could see Magari sitting on the roof of the school. Looks like you managed to gain control over the Book of Shadows after all. And I underestimated you, Ayumi Shinozaki. You even installed an escalator from Kisaragi Academy right up to Nirvana. Not too shabby. There's one more thing you should probably know, though. The Nirvana's encroachment upon and direct connection to this world isn't really your fault at all. The very moment the heavenly host Nirvana appeared in this world. No, even farther back, at the moment when the Book of Shadows was first created, the coming of this apocalypse was basically an inevitability. I looked into Magari's face, and she was completely sincere. The former owners of that book, including Yoshi Shinozaki, all tried desperately to stop it, or at least slow it down. And when they learned they couldn't, they left that fate to the next generation instead, and that's why the book continued to be handed down through the ages. I see. What that means is, this all would have happened anyways, with or without you. Save for one thing. Your action resulted in the power of the Nirvana being handed over to Mitsuo, the surviving member that fucked up the Yagura cult. And you need to take responsibility for that. Responsibility. You have the real Book of Shadows, but all the power of the Nirvana broken up and distributed throughout Heavenly Host has been absorbed by Masuto's fake book. If you can't get it back and seal it in that one, though, you can easily outclass him. And if you can go one step further, taking in the Nirvana's core, then that book will be complete. Now is the time to strike. Go in there, and fuck him up. Before the world ends, let him see what the real power tastes like. I'll be waiting. Magari grew smaller as I climbed closer and higher, and as I looked up, I could see the threshold looming ever larger, poised as if to wrap itself around me. Ayumi? Are you scared? Are you scared of dying? I don't know. Am I? I smiled at her, and to my surprise, it was a genuine smile. Somehow or another, I was feeling very calm. Sachiko looked at me with wide eyes. What's wrong? She turned away briefly, and then looked over at me once more. It almost seemed like in that brief moment, she changed expressions in much the way someone would change a suit. Ayumi, what you should be scared of is Sachi, and the person in the Nirvana's core. Don't let your guard down. The person in Nirvana's core? Isn't Masudo? Huh? There's someone else. I looked back up to find myself practically right on top of the hole in the sky that stood in front of me, abnormally huge red moon. And with my convictions settled, I jumped in. The harsh flash, the nausea, the wrenching tightness in my stomach caused me to lose consciousness for 1 second. But then I awoke to find that heaven and earth had switched places. It looked as though I was falling headfirst into the massive storm, with flashing lightning and roaring thunder. It almost seemed like I was previewing what the world would look like after its destruction. In the sky, there was an enormous face of a doll, and the walls around me were all made of flesh. Gross. Alright, so obviously a lot of shit has happened, and I clenched the Book of Shadows with both my hands as slowly made a landing in this new version of the Nirvana. It was a mountain of rubble. What is this? Everything's broken to bits. Ow, what the hell? Ayumi, are you okay? Yeah, I can handle this much at least. I slowly, carefully found my footing and pulled myself back up to my feet. This was an entirely different heavenly host. It bore almost no resemblance whatsoever to any version of the school we traversed previously. Heavenly Host Elementary turned into this? Where are the others? Mishida, Nakashima, Kishinuma, Miss Kuan, Aiko. I called out for my friends, but received no answer. All I could hear was the rumbling and twisting of the air around me. Alright guys, so we made it to the new Heavenly Host. I am going to end the episode here. Thank you for watching, and in the next episode, we are going to finish up the 7th chapter. So look forward to it.